Welcome to Real Talk with LaShondra. This is a series about entrepreneurship, leadership, and success I have learned throughout my journey in the construction industry. I'm LaShondra Mercurius, and I have been working in all of these spaces for over 15 years now. I will be sharing my thoughts and experiences about all the topics and also having conversations with amazing guests who navigate those spaces on a daily basis. Welcome back, everybody, to Real Talk with LaShondra Mercurius. I'm excited to be back. I love talking to all my peoples. In this episode, we're going to be talking about hiring and retaining talent. I think we spoke a little bit about it in a previous episode, so I thought it was a good topic to kind of pull out and take a little bit deeper dive into, since that's going to be the topic for the next few years as we all try to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps and take off our yoga pants and get back to work after this pandemic. So I really wanted to talk about the business landscape and how fast it's changing, especially with the millennial generation and Gen Z coming behind. Not too long from now, they're going to be dominating the job market. So employers are going to have to rethink their strategies about how to attract and retain talented young people. What was desirable for employees in the past is no longer the case. Millennials are all about purpose and chasing their dreams. See, back in my day, our parents were total dream killers. So that's not the case now. These kids, they want to do what they want to do. And I think it's great. So we're going to have to figure out how to navigate this new world for business owners, managers, supervisors, and just business people in general. For me as a Gen Xer, I'm used to stability, longevity, being at a job for a long time. And that's just not the case here. And I often hear employers wanting that same stability, but they're going to have a hard time finding it as time goes on. So we need to adjust. So bringing it back to the construction industry, which is the industry that I'm in, I think about how can we attract that talent for the large projects that we support and make sure the employees actually stay. For those of you who may not be familiar with this industry, when I talk about large projects, I'm talking about large infrastructure projects like the building of freeways, rail systems, highways, byways, bridges, all the type of infrastructure that really fuels how we move around in this country, which is severely under maintenance. So as you guys all know, Joe Biden is planning on working on a huge infrastructure package, which is going to really impact this industry, I think, in a good way. It's going to create jobs. It's going to tighten up the U.S. infrastructure, and is going to help this industry remain growing for the next 15 to 20 years at least. So I'm excited to talk about this topic today, to give you guys a little bit more feedback about some of these projects. So this is how they work. What happens is you have a handful of large general contractors, multi-billion-dollar companies that come together and form what's called a joint venture, which is essentially a pop-up company. Everybody knows about the pop-ups, the Kardashians, they got the pop-ups, and some of these other famous but not famous, or shouldn't be famous people, depending on what side of the coin you're on. I'm neutral on that one, but I want to respect all my audience. But essentially, it's a pop-up company that needs to be staffed. So that's a very unique sort of dilemma on how do you staff a pop-up company, staff a billion-dollar pop-up company within a couple months. So that's what we'll be focusing on, and I'll be sharing with you guys different tips and strategies on how to do that in a way that won't make you want to rip your face off, hopefully reduce a little bit of stress, and give you some peace of mind that the millennials aren't as bad as they say. I think they're great, but I don't know. They might have something else to say about that. Just kidding. Millennials are great. I just like to tease them because they're so sensitive. So let me tell you what's exciting about these large projects. Well, first of all, they're exciting because we get to see how our infrastructure is built. We get to impact communities in a positive way by making sure that everyone in those communities have access to transportation and can get to and fro in a effective way. And the other cool thing is you can leave a legacy. I think it's super cool to be able to take my grandkids in the event that my kids want to have kids once they hit 35. I think it would be awesome to take my grandbabies on a road trip and show them, all the different infrastructure that their grandma helped build, except that my name won't be grandma. It'll be something cool like Nina or Lola or, Super G Mom or something really cool like that. But nonetheless, I think it's exciting to be able to leave a legacy behind and know that you were a part of this infrastructure that's going to be around for hundreds and possibly thousands of years until we start flying spaceships. So it's really, really cool stuff. So one of the things that I really want to share with my audience, and if you happen to be, in the industry and you're an employer, really understanding what gets people excited about these types of jobs and opportunities. I think it's really important when you think about the hiring process, because it's all about how do you make people feel? How do you get them excited and get them bought into the mission, vision, and values of the project or the company that's actually doing the hiring. From my experience, obviously being a recruiter and being in this industry, I think one of the things that's really exciting is all the different types of opportunities that these young folks can be a part of. I think people think that, well, if I get a job on a project, I'm going to be stuck doing one job. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I've seen individuals really, really grow on these projects and be able to perform different functions. And again, these projects can be anywhere from 3 to 5 years, so there's a lot of time to learn the ins and outs. And the really cool thing is once you get one project underneath your belt, you're literally golden, because this industry is suffering from a talent shortage. So those individuals that have experience on these big mega projects, which seems to be the new trend in infrastructure build, that's where the money's at. And so being able to be a part of a project that's sexy is really cool for these young millennials, because everybody wants to feel wanted. Everybody wants to be courted, and everybody wants to feel like they're sexy, even if they're a nerdy engineer. Hey, we all need love. Thinking back to when I first got started in this industry, and I think about some of the first projects that I got to participate in as a small business, was just so exciting. I honestly didn't know how enjoyable this industry could be, and just how much I just didn't know about infrastructure and transportation, and how much of it is the lifeblood for certain communities. So when I think about one of my favorite projects that I got a chance to participate in, it's actually what brought me to Long Beach, is where I live. The Haynes Power Plant, I remember. It was one of our first projects back in 2012, I think it was. They were refurbishing some of the large power plants to get them up to code, and they had a special program where it's a JLTP program, which is on the job training. And so they hired my firm to recruit local talent that had limited industry experience, and they were going to get an opportunity to train on the job, which I thought was super cool. Because you had individuals that wouldn't normally be exposed to these type of opportunities really get a chance to build a career and see what this industry really has to offer. And I talk about this young lady quite a bit, but I really wanted to share her story again. And this is another reason why I love this industry so much, because I can see firsthand the impact that it has on individuals that are given an opportunity to thrive and succeed in such an amazing industry. Her name was Leslie. I won't share her last name. I want to protect the innocent. But she was a young mom of 5 boys doing God's work. And she had no experience, but just bright as a whip, just really sharp. You can tell that she just needed an opportunity, and if given that opportunity, she would be able to thrive and succeed. So we recruited her and hired her onto the project, where she started out as just some clerical help in the safety department. And within a couple of months, man, that young lady had those dudes, those engineers hopping. I mean, just had them organized, had them standing at attention, and really, really enjoying her presence and enjoying the job. And I want to say that she started maybe making 14, 15 bucks an hour. Today, she's running project control teams, making over $80,000 a year. And that growth was in just a few years. So now she's a coveted skill set in the industry just from that one opportunity. And I've seen it time and time again. I've seen so many individuals come in not knowing anything about this industry and really, really just thriving. But not only that, I think it's a great way to introduce STEM into our communities as well, because I think we don't do enough to get our young people excited about this type of opportunity. That's why programs like Career Excellence Academy, which I talked about in earlier podcasts, are so important. And I'll share with you again what we do there is our training and consulting company. But the thing that's most important that this entity does, it goes into communities of opportunity and exposes young people to careers in construction and infrastructure on the white collar side. And these are jobs that they're typically not exposed to. So I think it's a great way to really get individuals excited about the opportunity and networking with actual hiring managers, and it gives them opportunity to build relationships and have access to multiple properties. I think one year we actually bussed a bunch of kids from one of our live-in facilities of kids that were fighting recidivism, if I can get that out. These individuals were a part of a program that would help them get jobs. So we took a bus and bused them over to the regional connector project, which we were working on, and they got a chance to go underground and see the tunnels and really get an idea of how all this stuff is built. And they were so excited. I mean, their faces lit up like I've never seen before. So when I tell you that we have to figure out how to make this industry sexy and desirable, there's a way to do it. So we're doing our part, because I think it's everybody's responsibility to help build capacity. So this is our small way of doing it, but hopefully with the partnership of these large companies coming in here and making all this money, you can give a little to the academy to help educate some people in the community that you're affecting. So I want to talk about a point that I mentioned earlier, which was how to sell these types of positions to candidates, how to make them sexy and inviting. And I think one thing that we typically miss is how are we taking these individuals through the hiring process? And I think sort of the old school way is, you do an interview, you wait 2 weeks, you call them back, do a second interview, wait another week, maybe you do a third interview, maybe you wait for HR, maybe a month and a half later you make an offer. Where I can tell you right now, that is not going to fly. These young people want to be courted. They want to be dated in a sense. They want to know that if they join this project and this company, that they're going to be accepted, that they're going to be taken care of, and that they're going to be given opportunities to really showcase what they can do. So what I suggest is that you invest in technology to really speed up this process. Now, some of the tools that we've used are software platforms that actually automate the hiring and recruiting process. So we've developed our own platform called Team Builder. But what's cool about this software is you have the ability to communicate with your candidates, no emails. It's a communication platform where you can take them through the interviewing process. You can track all of the conversations and data that's happening between the two individuals. You can set up interviews, even set up mass interviews. You can collect a lot of data and analytics that help you really keep track of how quickly you're moving individuals through the process, which is going to allow companies to make much better hiring decisions, and also allows you to reduce the amount of manpower that you need for this particular department that handles the hiring, so that for projects, the project managers, the hiring managers, they can focus on making sure the project is getting done and not worrying about taking people through the hiring process. So I really encourage employers to start using automation and technology. And if anyone is interested in knowing how we do it, please let me know. But aside from all the automation stuff, I mean, that really helps with the process and making it smooth, because I think in today's society, when you're going through the interviewing process, I mean, yes, there's a lot you can automate, but there is still a big opportunity for the human touch. And so I talked a little bit about the courting, the dating. So when you think about the new workforce that's coming up, they want to be excited. They want to feel good about what they have to offer. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm interviewing young people is, allowing them to participate, in the job, asking them, well, what do you hope to get out of this opportunity? How do you see yourself growing? How would you set up an opportunity? How do you like to be managed? And really, really understanding what motivates individuals, because I think sometimes we miss that. We want so bad to ingratiate these young people into our cultures, which is great, but at the same time you want to allow them to kind of put their own stamp on it and show what they have to offer. Because what I find, especially in my company, that they bring so much. I mean, I would be lost in Google Suite without my millennials. I wouldn't know what was cool, what wasn't cool, and I wouldn't know what the future looked like. And I think because I've been able to tap in to those amazing minds, it's allowed me to stay ahead of the game, because they know technology. They know what feels good, what doesn't feel good anymore. They know what excites them. So I would really encourage, going down that line of questioning as you're courting. What is it that you want? How do you see your career? And then make an agreement. Maybe they only want to do 6 months. Say, hey, give us a try for 6 months. We'll revisit again in 6 months and see how you feel. And I think that's really going to empower them. So I know that's a little unorthodox, but I'm telling you, it's the wave of the future. Talking about all this interviewing, it kind of brings me back to this funny story I want to share with you guys, because it's amazing how much my interviewing techniques have evolved over time. But I remember, gosh, it was several years ago, I was interviewing this gentleman, and I was asking, I think I gave him like a scenario question, like, if you had, X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C, how would you manage it? And I never heard an answer like this before, but he actually started saying, well, I would have Jesus handle this part of the job, and then I would go and have Johnny, handle this part of the job, and then I would ask Susan if she felt comfortable with doing this part of the job. And in my mind, I'm cracking up, because I'm like, who the hell is Jesus, Susan, and Johnny? What have I gotten myself into? But anyway, I digress. Talking about interviewing always brings up those funny stories. But needless to say, he didn't get the job. But I did coach him at the end. I helped him out with his imaginary friends, Jesus, Johnny, and Susan. So I want to close this out with a few tips for job seekers who are in the industry but are hesitant to work on project-based positions. Well, y'all missing out because that's where the money is. Having diversity of projects underneath your belt is really what is going to heighten your stock in this industry. Not only that, you get to be exposed to a lot of other companies and a lot of other opportunities on these projects. And I even found that there's a lot more growth on the projects than just staying with one company. And I think it really satisfies sort of that need for challenge, as well as learning new things, and just being a part of so much variety is the spice of life. So I would encourage, individuals to really open yourselves up and allow yourself to work on a project, see what it's like, understand how huge the networking opportunity is for you and how much it can really grow the bandwidth and network for your career. So I would really encourage you to leave yourself open to these project positions, because in some ways these positions can be even more stable than non-project positions, because you are a part of a team that is essential. And coming off of COVID and everything that's going on, that there's no greater honor than to be a part of an essential team, making sure that these projects get done on time, to support our infrastructure, support our job creation. But in addition to that, that's where all the fun is. That's where all the opportunity is. I mean, you get an opportunity to be a part of so many different networks. You get a chance to travel if that's what you love to do. And you get to travel on the company's dime. Who doesn't like that? So I just feel like you don't want to close off opportunity, because the projects are really the lifeblood of the industry and you want to be where the action is. So I would encourage you to really think about giving it an opportunity if you've been previously closed off to it, because it's a lot of fun, man. I mean, and there are some characters on these projects, so give it a try. I promise you'll love it. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, even though we were talking about, project specific industry stuff. I do believe that a lot of the knowledge applies across industries. In the end, we are dealing with people, and people, regardless of where they're from, how old they are, what ethnicity they are, religious background, want the same thing. They want to be heard and they want to be loved. Thank you guys. Until next time. Series about entrepreneurship, leadership, and success that I have found in the construction industry. If you want to hear more and you want to be a part of our community, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our newsletter on our LinkedIn profile. If you want to share your thoughts after listening to this episode, feel free to drop a line in our LinkedIn podcast post. Thanks for listening, and we will connect next month.